because this man's one of the toughest son of a bitches in all of combat sports, mixed martial arts, bare knuckle, whatever you want to say. Back on the show. He's got a big fight November 15th in Biloxi, Mississippi. Back on Fight Bananas, the Vanilla Gorilla, Chase Sherman, to the show.
What's up, man? Thanks for the introduction.
Hell
What up,
yeah,
bro?
welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Look at the braids.
I like your thing you got going on here. It's good.
You kind of have one too, or does it go all the way?
It kind of goes all the way. I'm not that creative with mine.
Chase, I just can't. It doesn't come. It doesn't come. Dude, I play this clip every time, almost every show. Chase is on it. I got to play it. I'm going to push play real quick. It's one of the best.
What is it?
Biloxi, Mississippi, where the fuck you at, baby? Let's go.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It'll never get old.
I never get old.
Remember the commissioner coming in there and was like, "You got it."
Yeah, he was upset.
I know, and he almost got it too.
I was going to say that.
I think it's like you can't expect, like you got to understand, like this is different than any other sport, man. It's like your adrenaline is way up here, even more so than like an MMA fight. You know what I mean? And I didn't really, that fight didn't last, but half a round. So it was like I still was on one. I had to, like, you can't expect somebody to be a savage animal and then in 2 minutes later just turn it down to, like, you know what I mean, a professional and have this sort of like etiquette. It's just really kind of hard.
Well, Chase, let's talk about it. November 15th, back in Biloxi, Mississippi, back in the Coliseum. You got great memories there. We don't have to talk about, there's a little bit of a matchup change up, a thing. Dean Toole, we'll talk about that at a different time. But you're fighting Mo Green, a big-time veteran, UFC, PFL main eventer. He's done some big things in the game. A humongous fight, Chase. How pumped are you for it? A really big matchup. Talk us through it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. It wasn't the original plan, but at least I was supposed to fight Greg, and then but at least Greg ended up getting out of the fight or pulling out of the fight or whatever early on, and within a good time frame, so I didn't have to make adjustment. Like I wasn't training for a whole entire camp for one specific person, and then at the end having to make quick adjustments in order to fight somebody new. So that's nice. And Maurice Green's he's tall, he's long, he's a striker, he's glory kickboxer. He was in the UFC. I can't remember. Did he win the Ultimate Fighter, or was he just a finalist? But,
I believe a finalist.
Yeah. And so he's a seasoned vet, PFL. This will be the third guy with the organization that was UFC, Bellator, PFL. That Dean's bringing in a lot of good guys, and then a lot of guys that like to fight, and I'm excited about that. So it's his first bare knuckle event. It's different. It's different. It's different. So we'll see how he, makes those adjustments, and it'll be interesting. But it's part of the hometown crowd. Is like I'm gonna be keyed up.
Yeah, I love watching how honored you are to represent Mississippi. And after one of your last fights, you were going in about how you want respect on your name and Mississippi in general when it comes to bare knuckle and people understanding that you guys are kind of the birthplace of bare knuckle. So just talk to me a little more about like what it means to represent Mississippi and what you want people to know about your fighting culture.
Well, I mean, just really the culture in general there, we're kind of like that little 90-mile piece of landmass that kind of gets forgot about. Like most people don't even know we have a coastline in between New Orleans and Alabama. And so, your whole life is like you just kind of like, you're just kind of like that area that nobody really knows about. You're just not, you know what I mean? There's not much going on there really, as far as like people kind of getting out of that area and making really, I don't know. There's not a lot of professional athletes that come out of there. You know what I'm saying? And so like, being able to represent where I'm from and kind of that fighting spirit, and then kind of carry along the heritage that kind of got forgotten about, the history that got forgotten about, is important, you know, and can potentially inspire, you know, generations from now to come and kind of pursue that. I don't know what happened, but y'all disappeared on my. There you go.
No, I made you big. I made you the star. I made you the star.
Yeah, and so like, it's an honor really, because you got to be a fighter when you come from there, man. We get out the fucking mud, you know what I mean? We never have really garnered much respect other than just kind of, you know, being tough. And I think you can kind of see that I haven't done the analytics on it, but from the area kind of pertaining from like Lafayette, which is south of I-10, to that whole coastline up to, you know, Pensacola, has produced a lot of good fighters, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it by the state, but really the culture is more derived, you know what I mean? Like in that area, the people are the same, the culture's kind of the same. And so like, it's just produced a lot of good fighters from, you know what I mean? All the way from Roy Jones Jr. to Daniel Cormier and Dustin Poirier. And I mean, the list can kind of go on and on.
What is it about that area, in your opinion, that produces all these fighters? Like, what is it? Is it the culture?
I just think it's a little bit of culture. You know what I mean? It's just like a bunch of we grow up fighting. You know what I mean? I remember, you know, we didn't have a lot of boxing gyms. We didn't have wrestling in Mississippi, and it was mostly, you know, I played football and all like that. I remember growing up and you just heard about like people getting in fights, and like I remember. Like when we would go get in it with another school, you know what I'm saying? In high school, I remember like everybody and their mama was fucking there. You know what I mean? I mean, it was the girls were out there in pajamas and like just, it was just, I mean, it was just anywhere, anytime. Everybody had it was all about kind of like making your name for yourself, almost kind of like it is here in South Florida. You know, it was at least with like Kimbo and Masvidal and just boys being boys. You know what I mean? And when you're coming up, you kind of really want to make a name for yourself. And I was like, I want to be the best football player and the best fighter I could be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so when I got done playing ball in college, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. You know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight.
I love it. This is a good question. Christopher J threw it out there. It was literally on my list for you as well, Chase. And I know every fighter has that, hey, one fight at a time. I got Mo Green November 15th. He's a 6'8" monster that's going to try to knock my head off. So I get it. But it goes, Chase, when you win, will you call for that title shot against Junior Dos Santos?
Wait, what'd you say? You said you got Mo what? What do you mean you got Mo?
He's saying you have him first. So obviously we know
like you have Mo Green
next, but
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying you picking him to win. I was like, you know,
did you see the look on Chase's face? He was so offended for a second.
No.
Come on,
he was like, "How dare you?"
Coming there with that microphone this time. You better be on guard.
I can't say who I think or who I want to win because I will be doing stuff. But come on, we got history.
Throw the mic at you, Dave.
So what was the question again? Oh, Junior.
When you win against Mo Green, will you be calling out Junior Dos Santos?
You know, I called out Junior too last fight. I thought that's what the plan was, really.
Yeah.
Whenever, you know, that was really talked about. It was like whoever won the fight between me and Alex was going to get to fight the winner of Allen and Junior. And it worked out perfectly. So it was like I wouldn't have to, you know, unfortunately, like Allen, I've never won Allen.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't have had to fight him. And so it worked out perfectly for me. And then next thing you know, Junior's up there on the fucking microphone calling out a guy that just lost, you know, and Roy. And I'm like, hey, bud, I'm right here. Like, you know what you mean? Like, but at the same time, it's like, I can understand, you know what I mean, his position as far as, you know, Roy being more of a household name and things like that from a marketing standpoint. I could see that, as well as like it being, you know, an easier fight. You know, he'd already beaten Roy as well in the UFC, and so I guess if I was in his position and seeing like what I just had done to somebody like as tough and good as Alex, I would probably have called somebody else out as well. But you know, patience is a virtue, man, and so I'm just being patient, and he is, you know, I'll keep calling him out until he accepts it. You know what I mean? I can't really do that about it other than, you know, try to get the fight, and I have nothing respect for the guy because he's somebody that I idolized before I started fighting. You know, like an athletic, boxing heavyweight. You know, he came up in probably I would say the toughest heavyweight era of the UFC. I mean, you had Kane, you had Uberim, you had, you know, Brock, you had all the
Carwin.
Carwin. Pre-USADA UFC was a fucking,
especially for the heavyweights.
Monsters. Yeah. And so watching him, man, and it was just like, man, this dude's. I remember UFC 211. We were on the same card. He fought Stipe. I still have that picture with him. So I would hate to have to really fucking challenge his manhood and his character in order to get the fight. But if that's what has to take place, then that's what has to take place. But it would be an honor just to share the cage with somebody like that, you know.
For sure. And real quick, and I don't want to interrupt. I know, Maddie, you got the next question. I think it's very important. I think it's important for the brand Gamebred Bare Knuckle, to be totally honest. And, you know, I know everyone knows I talk to Dean and stuff. If you keep winning fights, Chase, and of course you keep doing your thing, that fight needs to happen. Like, we can't be taking other names, and especially the man who got a loss last, and because of it, though, maybe the name is big or whatever. At the end of the day, if you're winning fights, you just knocked out Alex Nicholson, who Alex hasn't literally one loss the last 2-3 years, and it's to you. Like, to me, you keep winning fights. You and Dos Santos needs to happen. It's good for the brand. It kind of it says, hey, we're rewarding the guys who's in there battle. You know what I mean? I think it's important for you getting that title shot next.
Yeah, it's holding integrity to the sport. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's something that we need in this era because, man, the integrity of the sport has really kind of been challenged, especially with all these YouTubers coming out and boxing and promoters realizing like, hey, it's fucking people are going to watch people fight regardless of their skill set. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna get guys that have millions of followers that can't fight worth a shit, that are just gonna cause drama or just gonna cause, you know, just be, you know, it's almost theatrics. It's almost like WWE type of shit. Right. And so that really kind of, what does that do for the sport in the long run? You know what I mean? It's like, damn, I don't even have to practice my craft. I just need to fucking make sure I got a lot of people watching me on YouTube or watching me on Instagram or whatever. And it's just kind of, it's garbage, you know? It's just like any other art really nowadays, you know? Like music on the radio is fucking garbage. You know what I mean?
I know.
But excellence is
garbage. Like
not the goal. Famous.
Yeah, like anything you watch on social media is pretty much garbage. Like,
I know.
It's like people want to be so attracted to the drama and shit. Like, no, really dive into the craft and be a fan and like understand like the ins and outs of the sports and like these fighters have to go through. Because
yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer that everything is cyclical, right? It's like it might have started off wonderful. Now, like YouTubers or whatever are kind of fucking with it, but it's gonna come back around, and the best are gonna rise again. Yeah, like they're gonna fall to the wayside, and the best are gonna come through again. And I personally love watching Bare Knuckle rise to the occasion and rise to the top. People are loving it. They love watching Bare Knuckle, and rightfully so. It is so entertaining and so exciting. For someone who has done it several times now, what changes need to be made if somebody is interested in making that transition? What needs to change when it comes to their training?
Well, honestly, it's not even so much. At least I find it. You know what I mean. But I'm also a different type of fighter when way I look at things. But it's not even really per se the training. It's more or less the mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that has to change, and it just depends on who you are. You know what I'm saying? Because I find that when you're fighting bare knuckle, it's like I'm able to kind of tap into these more primal kind of um, this primal type of mentality. I guess because you have to. Something about your brain is just like, wow, like I could get really fucking hurt. Like this person's like, this is a big dude swinging at me with bare knuckles. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just almost like you don't have an option but to kind of tap into that more primal side, and it's like a kill or be killed kind of a thing. So you either got it or you don't, and you kind of see which fighters naturally have it that have more success in the sport. I mean, guys like Mike Perry, for instance, you know what I mean, is one that I could just think off the top of my head. Besides, like myself, Allen has had some really good success at bare knuckle. It's just a dog type of mentality. It's almost like who's willing to suffer more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who's willing to get in there? And you cannot be timid. You know what I mean? There's no reason like a bare knuckle fight. If I have a bare knuckle fight, there's no reason that it should ever go outside the first round. You know, it really shouldn't, because it's just once you get in there and just let everything go. It's when you're my size and you hit as hard as I do, and it only takes one, you know what I mean? And a lot of people just kind of you can see in their eyes, you know what I mean? It's just like, whoa, I wasn't fucking really ready for this.
Mm,
You know
absolutely.
With that being said, you're talking about these guys who have this natural ability that fits into bare knuckle well, and some of those guys are having significantly more success in bare knuckle than they did in the UFC. What are like you talk about the dog, but like what are the technical aspects and the style aspects that make somebody better at bare knuckle fighting?
So I think more of the technical aspects would be really training on placing your shots. You know what I mean? Really learning how to be more precise, to finding like your true range. And then also just to like when you're engaged in a firefight, you know what I mean? Being able to stay poised and calm as if that person has 16-ounce gloves on or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Randy Costa said it best after his last fight. He was like, I don't know how I didn't break both of my hands. And we were talking about, we were like, well, you were probably punching correctly.
Yeah. I like to do a lot of Alan kind of showed me this, but doing like shadow boxing, you know what I mean? When I'm doing shadow boxing, doing really slow, methodically, like full range, and then really kind of like at the end of the punch, just squeezing and contracting the hands, you know what I mean? And that really helps with like those neural pathways, opening it up. So whenever you're fighting, it's more natural.
Right.
Not hitting the upper fist, and it's just like your body is learning how to be just firm and tight right at the last second. Things like that. Just kind of, obviously hitting the bag even, without gloves on, just hand wraps, doing things that can condition the wrists, and learning how to turn the knuckles over when I'm punching. I mean, I don't want to give a whole fucking seminar on the shit because
it's really fascinating because it really is. Because I feel like when like the first BKFC fights, like I think we can all agree they were pretty messy.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it first became a thing, like it was just kind of ugly, and now we're seeing like the formation of this brand new sport. Like it's its own thing.
Yeah, I like really practicing on when I'm like sparring or things like that, just focusing on a very small target, which is usually just the chin, and being real precise with that and keeping my eyes wide, versus trying to constantly evade or whatever, staying in the pocket. Boxers have a really good way of doing that. They can put pressure on you and make you feel exhausted without even hitting you, just because they're constantly in your, you know what I mean, in your pocket. They're just constantly stepping in that circle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So things like that are just the little things that people really aren't thinking about and doing. And you see more like traditional martial artists too. When I was talking about the shadow boxing and slowing it down and really like extending and contracting at the very end of your punches and strikes. Like traditional kung fu martial artists, when they're going through their like cadences and stuff, you see them do that. Like Shaolin monks, they'll do a strike and they'll hold it right there, and you know what I mean. Even if it's a block or a parry, and those things have been done for hundreds of years.
Ages.
Chase, this Biloxi card is absolutely stacked. For one, I can't wait, of course, your fight, you and Mo, the championship fight, Brandon Michael Davis versus Randy Costa. They just, announced Kevin Lee. How about Jason Knight versus Weems? So much on it. Of course, we're all ready for the Chase Sherman Green fight. But if there's another fight in that card, Chase, you're like, hey, to the people, to the masses, you can't miss this fight. It's another fight you're going to be definitely maybe peeking through the curtains trying to watch? Or do you care about anything else on that card?
Yeah, I mean, Jason and Brandon are friends of mine. Kevin Lee's a teammate of mine.
Yeah.
Here in South Florida. I'm really excited for Kevin. I'm the one that kind of talked him into doing it.
Okay.
So I introduced him to Dean and stuff. And we actually have a couple other guys here at Kill Cliff that are really interested, that could be like really successful in the sport,
Chase,
like
imagine Gregory Rodriguez and bare knuckle MMA.
Oh,
bro,
terrifying.
That's what I'm saying. There's certain types of fighters you can name them. You know what I mean? It's just the mentality. It's just something about it, man. And Dean does a really good job of finding those guys that kind of lay their body out on the line. You know what I mean? It's like the guys that want to go out on their shield, if anything. Those are the cats that really find success in the sport. And yeah, that would be just that would be a nightmare for a lot of people if he was. And but like Andre Fialago is somebody that's you know what I mean, that's been talking to me about doing bare knuckle, and he's been really interested in it. He's a fucking hell of a boxer, and he's he came up fighting too without gloves on. You know what I mean? I mean, it'd be great to see Jorge come in and do at least one fight without the gloves on, like for old time's sake. You know what I mean? Like that'd be sick. And then
wait,
there's a couple guys, man.
Did you watch the Jorge Nate boxing fight, by the way?
Yeah. I did.
I thought Jorge looked really good.
Yeah, he did. They were man.
They were throwing
on each other, man. They really were. They were just trying to drown each other. You know what I mean? It was exhausting. Yeah. But Nate always has kind of been like that. You know what I mean? But I guess what I was going to say back to your question was Brandon and Randy. I don't know if you watched their first fight, but it was a sick fight. It was a great fight. Those are two guys I'm looking forward to watching. Who else? Kevin. I want to see how he does in bare knuckle. And then Jason's always a fun fight. He's trying to redeem himself for that last thing. Hopefully, they've been training hard back home. And I'll be going back home around Halloween, so I'll finish the last 2 weeks of camp up there. And so I'll have a good insight as far as how their camps have been going and things of that nature. So
amazing!
I can't wait to fight week. Fight week with Chase Sherman hopefully means his son will be at the weigh-ins. His son last weigh-in absolutely stole the show.
He'll be there. Hopefully, I can have both of them there. So
okay, cool. Yeah. But it's always a good week.
I'm ready to get back home to see him. So it was good talking to y'all.
Yeah, man. Chase, always a pleasure, brother.
Okay.
Always a pleasure. November 15th, Chase Sherman will take over Biloxi, Mississippi.
Biloxi, Mississippi, where the fuck you at, baby? Let's go.
Well, we got to update that clip, Chase.
Yeah.
We need a new one.
But I was gonna say another thing too, man. It's the day before my birthday, man. So everybody's got to show up. You know
Let's
what I mean?
go.
Let's
Show love.
go.
I gotta hit up George and be like, because his birthday is like I think on the 12th.
Okay.
So have like a little joint after party or something, you know?
Yes.
Definitely.
I like it.
Sounds
I like it.
fantastic.
All right.
Chase,
y'all
you're the
have a
man,
good one.
brother. We'll talk soon.
All right, bye.
Thanks,
ya.
All right,
Chase.
see you fight week. Chase Sherman, man. Absolute monster. Love that guy. Love that guy. So, oh, what's up? How are you?
I'm good. I'm